Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona for the second round of Season 3 of the 2024 iGPFun Super Formula Lights League here on iRacing. My name is Edward Hunter. Alongside me in the commentary box and dutifully covering the broadcast direction is Mr. Dean Biggles. So, Dean, we had a very, very exciting first round of the championship in Montreal a week ago. Won, of course, by Dutch driver for the Williams Esports Academy, Quiotargo Martiu, from Kenzie Newhoff and Lee Aberdeen, the champion of last season, of course, runs a #1 on his car. But Barcelona, different circuit, different challenge, and I hope you're nostalgic for chicanes, because this is the old layout that's got the chicane just before the final corner rather than the reprofiled one. It's also got the much tighter turn 10 Lacaxia. That obviously, to be honest, leads to slightly better overtaking because they have to take it at a much lower speed, apart from that driver in the background who seems to have spun out of the corner entirely. And that looks like, that's not Mr. Lee Aberdeen himself, is it? It is.
Yes, it is. It's the Aussie.
Oh dear, we seem to both jinxed him there. You being from the Antipodes and me mentioning Lee Aberdeen seemed to make him spin, so there we go. What a great start to qualifying at the Circuit de Catalunya.
Yeah, exactly. And look at that grid as well too. Welcome everybody. And we can see Doily Dola out there. You've got Mackenzie, go, and Trickery saying let's go. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because believe it or not, we are very, 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 should I say very one more time, close to 2,000 subscribers. Which is about the same time we want 1,000 subscribers, and James is going on holidays in Spain next week, starting Monday. So that's exactly we just reached our subscribers just before he went on holidays this time a year ago, around about this time a year ago. So there it is, and he's going to Spain again.
And now we're racing in Spain too, so there's a bit of serendipity there. But but yeah, it would be ideal to have lightning strike twice when James least expects it. It'd be a nice little present for him when he gets back, of course. But we are looking at qualifying continuing. There is Ruiz. There's, of course, Brent Ruiz, who, of course, had a pretty solid season last year. The number 40, of course, driver for no team. I think he's an independent driver in IGP. But Brent Ruiz, who has had some very, very strong performances. He was 15th last time out, of course, in the number 31 car at Montreal. So it'd be great to see him qualify a little bit better here. He's currently on provisional pole position from Lee Aberdeen by just over 1/10 of a second then, as he goes through the fearsome turn 9. And then, a little bit wide over the curb there. You've got to be careful of the track limits here. I've reading the race notes. They are very, very strict about them here at Circuit de Catalunya, because you can get a real advantage if you track extend. It's not like Montreal, where if you track extend, there'll just be a wall in the way. Here, there is a little bit more lenient. You might occasionally find a gravel trap, but there is plenty of runoff through some of the tighter corners.
And the bumps as well too. You can see those high chicanes on the inside. So if you hit those yellow speed bumps, so your car's going to go absolutely flying. You have these other super formulas, and they're also super light. So you'll go airborne, your bottom car out. We saw Formula 1 drivers go out exactly off at that area, I think it was, during the practice sessions and the qualifying.
Yeah. Let's not call them super lights, because that's another series in America. Let's not get too confusing. But yeah, certainly they're very, very light F3 style sort of cars, as Brent Ruiz completes another lap. That last lap, 1:36.5, but his best 1:34.7 then. And let's have a look at who's going quickly out there at the moment. I think Lee Aberdeen has got personal best middle sector, 27.3. Is anybody else going faster than a 27.3? A lot of 27.4s, 27.5s as we run on board with Tony Jimenez Spaniard in his home event then. He powers through turn 9, much tighter line than what we saw from Brent Ruiz on his second flying lap there. And Tony Jimenez looking to show well at home for the XPD Racing #1 team.
Is it Jimenez or Jimenez? Jimenez.
I think interchangeable really. I think it's Jimenez if we're pronouncing it the Spanish way, because they don't really bother with the Z. So is it the...
Oh,
No, it's a V. They pronounce...
Yeah.
So Valencia is pronounced Valencia because they have a different way of pronouncing V's essentially, sort of with a B sound. And I think, yeah, Jimenez. TH, even though it says a Z. But anyway, Tony Jimenez powers towards the line then. Can he get onto the second row or even the front row? No. It is slightly slower than his best by about 4 tenths there.
Let's see at the moment if the Norwegian driver, Christian, can get something, because he's starting his lap. You can see Lee's about on an out lap, about to start another one. With 2 minutes and change to go of our qualifying session for our second race this season. Once again, welcome everybody. You think I would know Spanish, wouldn't you, living in a Spanish-speaking country for 10 years, but I still haven't picked up all perfectly.
My Spanish extends to the D I got in a GCSE Spanish about over 10 years ago, as we see. Oh, just going through Seat corner. This is Christine Glamsater, as you pointed out, the Norwegian driver, just really pulling the ragged edge of this car. We saw not too long ago Evan Way went 5th fastest, the Canadian, in the number 92 entry. So that's a very, very good effort from him. He had some good showings last season as well. Andy Flint has just set a time good enough to sneak the American into the top 10. He is a 100th of a second, behind Pedro Soares, the Portuguese driver in the number 45. As we look at Glamsater just finishing off the lap through that tricky final chicane for No Limits Sim Racing. Black and green machine. And then through that final corner, New Holland it's called, I believe. He powers through a very, very tight on exit here. So let's see, he is 900ths behind Lee Aberdeen, but he crosses the line and goes about a second slower than his best lap then. So the best very much yet to come then, as we are all very, very close to the end of qualifying. Less than 2 minutes remain on the clock then. To run aboard with Lee Aberdeen once more in the dark blue world champion machine. Of course, won the championship last season. He is about 100th off of pole position, 10th off of pole position time. I've been reading the gaps wrong, making them sound a lot closer than they are. but yeah, it's just a 10th and a little bit away from pole position is Lee Aberdeen at the moment. But it looks like Brent Ruiz has done enough at the present moment as Mackenzie Roon leapfrogs his way up to 4th position. Fantastic lap, brilliant final sector there, 35.5, which is slightly faster than what Lee Aberdeen and co have been doing, although 2 tenths slower than Brent Ruiz, to put that into perspective. So great job from the Get Good Racing driver.
Yeah, good improvement towards the end. I don't see anybody else really showing any massive improvements. Maybe Tony's got a chance to fight back on this one. 21 seconds to go. You can see he's improved personally on his middle sector, but his first sector wasn't improvement, so he's got to have a mighty third sector here if he wants to get himself on that front row, I'd say. I don't think... Well, we're not quite sure if he's going to get... You never know, my friend.
Avoiding the curb at the final chicane, you noticed there, Dean. Just absolutely being as careful as possible not to damage that suspension and make sure he's not wasting any time hanging around in the middle of the air. Jimenez across the line. 35.1 and a 10th off of his best lap there. So good effort, not quite good enough for the second row of the grid at present, with Mackenzie Roon having just leapfrogged him. So the checker flag is out. So we are just waiting for final runs to complete. Brent Ruiz, Lee Aberdeen, and Mackenzie Roon, they've all finished their laps. Tony Jimenez, I think, just crossed the line in time for our final lap. But let's see if he can nail the first sector or not. We are looking at Will McIntyre-Jones, who's got himself up to 7th position in the camouflage livery there on the digital Apex machine, of course. It almost looks like an F1 testing livery you would have seen at Barcelona back in the days. Oh, look at that final curb, the sausage curb. Just making him leap up in the air there, but there's a lot of travel on the suspension. Seems to be just able to carry that one. The 141 powers towards the line. What can the Austrian driver do? There is somebody else going faster, though. McIntyre-Jones does not go any faster, but Christine Glamsetter a purple middle sector here. That would be the 35-4 that he sets. So that's only a tenth slower than Brent Ruiz. There's a chance that he can maybe get in front of Lee Aberdeen here. He's very, very close, 2/10 away at the present moment. Just this final chicane. But there's a bit of oversteer and a big snap at the wheel as he wrestles for control as he goes into New Holland. Has that blown a chance to get on the front row for Christian Glamsetter? Indeed, it has. Another 135.1. His best lap 134.9. So 2/10 at least went begging there right at the final sector.
Yeah, it's just because he hit that bowler did, as I said, isn't it? And that just lifted the car up a little bit. And then, of course, he has to correct it, power slides, and scrubs off a lot of speed towards the end there. So, good attempt, but he's still happy. I'd say he's still always happy at the end of the day to say, I've got a purple sector, at least in qualifying.
Yeah, final man on track, Will McIntyre-Jones. And he doesn't seem to be going particularly quickly, unfortunately. So I think we can quite safely say, Dean, that the grid has very much been decided and we are all set for a very exciting 30-lap race in just a few short moments' time.
Exactly. It'll be very, very exciting for sure, and that is definitely going to call it. That's right. It was the Red Bull testing livery, wasn't it? To try to trick off your opponents and things like that as to...
exactly, so they can't see all the Adrian Newey designed aero.
Here you go, my friend, the grid.
Right, so let's take you through our starting order. It is Brent Ruiz from California that lines up on pole position, 134.7 the pole time, with Lee Aberdeen, reigning champion, joining him alongside on the front row from Australia. Then Christian Glamsetter will start from third place, the Norwegian heading the second row with Mackenzie Roon alongside him. Fifth is Tony Jimenez. Sixth will be Evan Ray. Seventh, Will McIntyre-Jones. I believe that's his best qualifying of the season, ahead of Kevin Zemstra. In 8th, Pedro Suarez will start 9th ahead of Andy Flint, who rounds out the top 10. Then in 11th, it's Chris Trott and Kenny Cornu that will start in 12th. In 13th position, Kevin Byland from Scandinavia. Then in 14th, it's Patrick Williams from the United States. 15th will be Ludovic Rancion. Clark Williams will start 16th. Then Robert Widgway, 17th. Thibault Dillard is going to start from 18th, whose last name I've almost certainly butchered there. Sebastian Grayland will start 19th. The top 20 is rounded out by Bojan Kuznar. Then 21st, it's Alvaro Marinero. Alvaro Marinero. 22nd, Rishi Tapiara. 23rd, Jack Willems. Don Lee will start 24th. And then we're getting in from 25th onwards, which is Joseph Lucas in 25th. 26th, Simon Pesci. 27th, Angelo Veloz from Brazil. Then Stu Milne from Scotland will start 28th. 29th, Adam Talsma. Rounding out the top 30 is Marcelo Kessler. Then in 31st, it's Zoltan Zomota. 32nd, Zerde Blanco. 33rd, Daryl Govinder. 34th, Ben Gavet. 35th, Gaiten Imhoff. And finally, in 36th position, Matthew Gracie. But wait, there's more. In 37th, Maximilian Gabel. And I've taken too long to read the grid because they have already gotten going. Brent Ruiz then leads away from pole position with Lee Aberdeen, now defending from Christian Glamsetter. 30 laps of racing action here. Now get underway at Circuit de Catalunya. And it looks like Glamsetter has just been held off by the reigning champion, but Brent Ruiz makes a dream getaway. This is a much better start for him than the one he had in Barcelona. And remember, there's not allowed to be any major active overtaking through the first two sectors here. It's really from a turn 10 onwards on the first lap that they'll be allowed to overtake, and then all the other laps, it's anyone's game really, where you make the moves essentially. But that is really just a strategy that IGP have introduced to reduce the amount of incidents that they tend to see on the first lap here at Circuit de Catalunya. But very, very clean start on the whole, and with the rule in place, that's no surprise.
The back they are starting to do that, overtaking as you mentioned. But yes, it's a very good strategy, because otherwise it just turns into an absolute mess of a pile up generally in races. And we want to see drivers at least get a lap under their belt, so that they get the temperature of the tires and stuff like that, and they get used to these racing conditions. And then you go pedal to the metal.
Yeah, it looks like a Simon Fessi is lining up Angelo Veloz and Joseph Lucas. Remember, they're not allowed to go free wide there, but Simon Fessi goes round the outside of Angelo Veloz and snatches 26th position away from the Brazilian in the black and green car. And look at that, Stu Milne. He fancies getting involved in this, as well as round goes Matthew Gracie. But of course, that was through turn 10, so that is the first position on track that they are allowed to overtake on the first lap then. Here we go. This is Gaten Imhoff starting near the back of the grid, the Belgian. And he just barges into the side of the MRP car and lifts it into the air there, causing a bit of a horrible tangle. And he has to go against the flow of traffic, which is far from ideal. Look at this, Kevin Zemstra, being overtaken by Pedro Soares, the Portuguese driver, going up the inside of him and taking away 8th position there. Well-judged move on the brakes into turn 1.
That's exactly the overtaken position, spoiler alert, of course, for the Formula 1. This weekend.
There's a DRS zone before that, of course. No DRS here to help these IGP drivers here in the Fun League, as Christian Glamsetter is starting to move around and throw shapes in the wing mirrors of Lee Aberdeen here. So Aberdeen could finish third last time out, is once more fighting for podium positions here, the reigning champion. But Glamsetter, Norwegian, could be a bit of a threat. Here's 2 cars in the gravel at the exit of turn 5 there. And one of them is Ludwig Rankon.
Yes, right here. This is almost a...
the wheels tangled.
A replay of the incident before, wasn't it? But it's other two.
One of the red and white cars he tangled with there. Didn't quite catch who that was. I think it might have been Sebastian Graveland, but there we go. Kevin Byland is now under attack here into turn 10, Lucaxia. And that's Robert Ridgway trying to go all the way around the outside of him for the No Limits car. Robert Ridgway, the Atomic Racing team, of course, still side by side as they're about to go into the chicane. And now Clark Williams fancies getting involved here around the outside as well. But will Clark Williams be given enough space by Robert Ridgway? Indeed he is, but not enough overlap for the Englishman to take advantage. And this allows Kevin Byland to escape up the road. But look at this, the battle for second still raging on, and Glamsetter picks his moment into turn 1. He just had so much more overspeed, nothing that Lee Aberdeen could do to hold him at bay. And now the Norwegian is going to set after Brent Rees to challenge the American for the lead.
And we have a car off. That's
dear.
Bojan, I think. Yes, that's unfortunate.
Yes, it's Kuznat, and he's trying to rally across his way out of the gravel there. But let's have a look at what happened here. So they're about to go free wide at turn 1, which is not always a good idea. And you can see Kuznat tries to back out, he's sort of trapped on the inside and sort of spins on his own. Luckily, he doesn't really collect anyone during his misadventure there, but that's going to cost him a lot of time as we see more moves going on just on the verge of the top 20. Joseph Lucas fighting away with Thibault Rebillard, and Simon Fessi we saw continuing to make moves. Here we go, round the outside goes Fessi on Rabillard, and the two Frenchmen exchange positions, and now Fessi runs 21st.
A little bit of a battle. There's battles everywhere in this midfield right here, and we saw the little battle on the front there as well too, of those exchanging of places. But
another free wide moment.
Huge lock up.
Marino locks up and goes all the way off track as somebody flips over. And is that Taparia has gone over, and Joseph Lucas involved in that as well.
Yes, it is. We'll have a look at the replay because we just caught that on the pictures. This is another reason why, my friend, 3 into 1 doesn't go.
A very simple maths problem. And there we go, the front wing goes, and Taparia makes initial contact, and then the front wheel hits the rear wheel of Taparia's car, and over he goes. These are in iRacing, it's very, very common when the wheels tangle that one car goes up in the air, as we see more moves going on. Denny Cornu
gone to wide
with the nickname, getting all the way off track in the Unity racing car, looked to have the move done, but completely overshot the corner there.
Yeah, you could see when he got a little loosey-goosey on that one, and just had to let the car really glide into the corner, onto the gravel trap, because that's the only way to really safely do it. Otherwise, you completely overcorrect it and you're spinning around and around and around. So, good save. We'll drop a place, but...
Yeah, that protects Andy Flint's top 10 position, but Chris Trott wants to punish Denny Cornu for that mistake there. You see the Venturi logos on the side of the Unity racing car, but Chris Trott has also got Patrick Williams, the American, full company here. So not any longer. Around goes Patrick Williams. Oh dear, I see they've cursed him. They're coming out of Verf corner, the sort of tight fast chicane, the turn 6 and 7 complex. He's just completely dropped it in the wake of Chris Trott here, and completely self-inflicted, I'm afraid to say.
And it's a difficult place because you see the cars are coming off that exit, so they're on the racing line, and he can't
sort of
go anywhere.
vertical, isn't he?
Yeah, he can't.
That,
he can't turn it because if he
on delivery.
if he does a burnout there, he would have got collected. And he did the right thing, of course. It's very frustrating to drop all those places, but at least you haven't damaged somebody else's. And I think you have somebody else that's just gone off here with.
Ooh. It's Gephardt, and he's dropped it very, very early at turn 10. Completely on his own, the German Austrian. You see Kevin Zemstra has gotten his way past Will McIntyre-Jones for 8th position. And here we go, does Gerhard just spin at the apex? Indeed he does. Too much power. The rear tyre's crying off, and round she goes as we look at Chris Trott. He's about to try and make a move on, is that Denny Cornu just in front of him on this replay? No, this is live, isn't it? That's Andy Flint right in front of him.
Now, Chris Trott got past before. Hang on. There.
Here we go. And so Chris Trott up the inside of Denny Cornu into turn 1. And just about gets it stopped in time. So good racecraft there from the British driver. So Denny Cornu now stuck in 12th position, is forced to watch Chris Trott as he chases after Andy Flint in front of him. Meanwhile, the battle up front, Brent Ruiz has been responding well to the pace of Christian Glamsetter. 1.6 is the gap, with Lee Aberdeen just 7/10 behind the Norwegian in third place, holding off Mackenzie Roon. And look at this, Denny Cornu fighting back around the outside into turn 10, and Chris Trott has got to break deep and hold his line. Could that leave him vulnerable on the exit? Yeah, I think the British driver has judged it well here. The 79 car holds on to 11th position, and Denny Cornu, a little bit of frustration creeping in here. I think he maybe feels that he let Chris Trott off too easy into turn 1.
Oh,
wants some revenge.
There you go. That's a beautiful. I love that final sector really of this track. Fantastic testing racing track. It's
almost
brilliant.
makes you nostalgic, isn't it, for the old chicane days?
Now
Here
he's
we
going to get a
go,
good
though. Denny
run.
Cornu. He's got the slipstream, has got a very, very good overspeed. It's Tony Jimenez passes Mackenzie Roon for 4th position, but Roon fights back then. That's going on just ahead of these guys. Denny Cornu is going to break deep into turn 1. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he can, and this time he does just about avoid the gravel trap. So lesson learned for Denny Cornu. Somebody has cut the track behind them.
Tony's gone
I think
off
that might be Tony
track.
Jimenez hitting trouble.
Oh, there's contact. Oh.
Oh, and that's what happened then. Jimenez spun around during his fight with Mackenzie Roon there. Did Mackenzie Roon leave enough space? That was a little bit tricky to judge just from the wrong replay there.
We'll have a look, my friend, again. We'll have a quick minute and change.
This is Cornu, I think, and Chris Trott side by side.
Oh, yep. My
There we go.
apologies.
You just saw how deep Denny Cornu had to break to pull that one off. Yeah, so Tony Jimenez on the inside, and I've got to be honest, it looks to me like Mackenzie Roon sort of turned in from the outside and maybe should have left a little bit more room there, in my opinion. But I'm sure Mackenzie Roon will probably see that one a little bit differently. No time to reflect, because here comes Robert Ridgway trying to go around the outside of Kevin Byland. These two, again, hammer and tongs for 13th position, haven't they? And the Brawn GP livery of Kevin Byland's car holding off the Atomic Racing of Robert Ridgway, as both of them almost dip into the gravel there just before they get to the final chicane complex here at the old Europe car section.
That's a mistake. That's a big mistake. He's going to get absolutely hammered here by Robert before you even get across the start-finish line.
Not every day you see a move made into New Holland there, but Robert Ridgway somehow able to pull it off, and Byland now tucks into the slipstream to try and limit the damage now all the way down the straight, but he knows that 13th position is going to be tough to get back. Robert Ridgway, we've seen his racecraft in action before. Pretty good at finding way through, very good at staying there once he gets through as well. But look at this, he's gone a little bit wide through turn 3, and Kevin Byland does not need a second opportunity. Side by side they go, and it's going to be until turn 4 at least until this is decided. Ridgway trying to extend on the outside, but that's the long way round, and Kevin Byland has got the better line through 4, but into say at turn 5, Robert Ridgway once more inherits the inside line. Byland's going to have to brake late on the outside. Front wing just about survives that contact there, and he has to concede that 13th place. So Ridgway has to really hang it out around the outside to get the inside, but his patience pays off.
And that battling is actually bringing Tony back into play there, because there's the Spaniard at his home race. So he's loving that little battle coming up ahead, because now he's almost
Luckily
caught
not
that.
too far badly damaged as well, Tony Jimenez. He was one of the title contenders last season.
now
Kevin
he's gone
Byland's
for it.
round, and good reactions from Jimenez there to avoid him, but Kevin Byland, I think, just tried to dive up the inside of of Mr. Robert Ridgway, and it didn't quite pan out the way I think that the Nordic driver anticipated here.
You're going to see it on the replay right now. It's going to come in a little bit too hot, isn't it? And he
Very
doesn't actually
late,
tap
tried
in.
to back out, didn't he?
Yeah. And
He's
thankfully,
sort of right on the racing line as well. Good thing he moves pretty quickly, but wasn't a whole lot of time for Tony Jimenez to react to that one. He had to have very good awareness to see what was happening in front of him. And look at this. Jimenez actually being passed by Simon Fessy, interestingly enough, and Jack Williams. So I wonder if Tony Jimenez has jumped to the last chicane there.
yeah, you got to slow down for sure. You wouldn't be loading up that many cars through there, but that's a bit unfortunate. It's that's when you kind of need live race control sometimes, isn't it? Because he had to go off track a little bit to avoid an accident, and you know, if you had live race control, that wouldn't have been issued a penalty. Slow down for that. But iRacing will, because iRacing doesn't know if you tried to take an advantage or not.
Oh, big lockup for Clark Williams as it's the battle of the British drivers. Williams chasing Chris Trott for 11th position then with Denny Cornu just holding on to the top 10 then in front of them as Clark Williams gets a little bit loose through Worth then, so he can't afford to abuse those rear tyres too much because it's only lap 8 of 30. He's going to need them in the laps to come. It depends, of course, on the pit strategy, but in a 30-lap race here in these cars, you're not expecting too many pit stops apart from for repairs and such. Look at this. Clark Williams definitely looks a little bit more confident than Chris Trott at this phase of the race as we see Fessy and Rabiard continuing to swap positions just in front of Tony Jimenez. And into the final chicane we go then. Clark Williams has to pick his moment here. Doesn't get a brilliant exit. Chris Trott is going to escape just a little bit, but Clark Williams will benefit from the slipstream. The gap up front, by the way, 2.2 seconds between Rees and Glamsetter, with Lee Aberdeen just starting to be dropped to the tune of a second. He's got a 3-second gap to Evan Way, who's had a very clean run so far, but here comes Williams, just running out of top-end speed and running out of space there as Chris Trott actually breaks surprisingly early for turn 1. Seemed to almost catch Clark Williams out there, but luckily collision avoided and the battle resumes.
I think Tony's in pit road. Oh, has he missed his box completely? It was a really quick stop and go there.
Oh, if that was a pit stop, it was a very, very short one.
Yes.
But there we go. Tony Jimenez rejoins the order, but
Evan.
off track. That's Evan Way then, so losing even more time to Lee Aberdeen with a bit of a mistake there. And that is allowing Pedro Suarez and Mackenzie Roon to get involved in this battle. Remember, Roon and Jimenez came together earlier, so Mackenzie Roon might also be nursing damage, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was maybe Jimenez using his Joker to sort of get repairs done, which I believe he can do in iRacing in this particular series.
Yeah, fast repair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This will be very, very interesting on the tyres, you mean later on. Just this track is a bit punishing on those boots. So I think you've got to be making sure that you're not really throwing the car around too much, because it's going to come back and bite you later on. We're starting to see little areas you saw earlier start to creeping of some of the drivers going around. Not
those
just
fast corners like turn 3 and 9 particularly put a lot of strain through the tyres as well, particularly if you're trying to follow someone quite closely. I have to admit, I saw the Hydro Race car that Pedro Suarez is driving. I misread it as Hobo Race for some reason, because I thought it was a play on words of a Robo Race, but that just shows that my eyesight is clearly not working as well as it should. There we go. Clark Williams has passed Chris Trott for 11th position then, so there we go. Up the inside, down the straight then from a long way back, and Chris Trott having to have a lot of manners there to cooperate with Clark Williams, and Williams, his bravery and patience coming out on top there. Evan Way still holding that train of Suarez and Roon in the battle for 4th position then.
Yeah, this is going to be quite interesting with these drivers because, well, no lap traffic just yet. You can see on your track map at the moment, our race leader is about to enter into the 3rd sector soon. But that will definitely come into play a little bit later on. You see there's little red dots that are flashing every once in a while on your track map. That's also somebody completely going off track. We did have another driver go another crash. I think that's Costas here at the moment. I just want to see if we're not going to miss any of the action before I switch it back. No. There's Costas. So he's 198 machine. I think this is going too deep. Yeah, locked it up. And keeps on the track. Oh, no, he come contact later on. Oh. Yeah, I would have backed off completely on that one. You already compromised your exit at that point, so you don't want to...
Tenebrell now fighting for 29th position behind Matthew Gracie then. So, yeah, he's not had the easiest of runs there, but at the back of the pack, predictably, is where things are going to get the most chaotic then. As we go on to lap 11, we're almost at half distance here. Mackenzie Roon, the American driver, has got the run on the Portuguese driver, Pedro Suarez, up the inside into turn 1, and he snatches away 5th position. So Mackenzie Roon, who made a good start and then lost a couple of positions after contact with Tony Jimenez, is now starting to regain his confidence and regain positions up the order. Next target, Evan Ray, but Pedro Suarez is certainly not going to take that one sitting down. He tries to get the power down out of turn 3 and into 4 they go.
Oh, the Pedro Suarez is. I've been commentating him for many seasons now, actually, in other leagues as well too, and he's a fighting Portuguese driver, that's for sure. He really gives it everything he's got, so he's not going to want to yield that one too easily. And of course, hey, Doodly out there, where's your go, Mackenzie? Because yes, you got no Mackenzie, but Mackenzie's got the move done, so we need to hear some shout outs there.
I think because of the contact with Jimenez, that was what he's reacting to there.
Oh, that was early, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mackenzie Roon has literally just made the move, so our poor friend in chat, Doodly Doodler, has not got the time to react to the situation changing so quickly that it's difficult to keep up, of course, and put an appropriate comment in time. It's like being a commentator in a way. But anyway, Mackenzie Roon now just 8/10 behind Evan Way, but still Pedro Suarez is within about half a second of him. And don't forget Kevin Zemstra. We've seen him make charges through the order before as we cut to Don Lee. Looking at this battle between Jack Williams and Stu Milne. So Jack Williams, I think, lost a couple of positions to Fessy and Rabiard not too long ago, and now is just outside the top 15 then, fighting against Stu Milne, who is all over the back of him, and he's dragging Adam Talsma and Joseph Lucas, Don Lee not far behind as well. So big train of cars. I think 15th is the final points-paying position, if I'm not mistaken, or is it top 10?
I'm not 100% on that one, sorry, my apologies. I'll step in.
If I'm not mistaken,
James
it's the top
tonight.
10.
Yeah, because he's on his holidays. Yeah. This is definitely a big battle that's going on here currently at the moment, as you mentioned, with these drivers, so it's crucial. They're all gained. You can see those gainers up on the left, on the right-hand side of your timing tower. So, you know, even though they're dropping a couple of places too from now, sometimes, but you got 12 gain there from Simon Fessy. Yeah, we've got 7th and 11th gains and stuff like that. So they're close.
Well, that tells you that all these drivers didn't qualify particularly high up the field.
Exactly.
But it's still nonetheless impressive to see them stay out of trouble. Not everyone has managed that, and often there's a bit of good fortune that can come your way as well. As we look at Suarez continuing to shadow Mackenzie Roon, try and put pressure on Roon and Way in front of him, the two North American drivers, and the Portuguese man keeping them incredibly honest at the present moment. Up front, Brent Rees has extended the gap to nearly 3 seconds now over Christian Glamsetter. And Glamsetter is just starting to lose touch already. He's last lap 3/10 slower than the American in front of him. But he was at least slightly quicker. In fact, he's been able to fight back this lap, 1:35.8 for the pair of them. But Lee Aberdeen a 10th quicker. And Lee Aberdeen, let's not forget, is only 1.1 seconds behind Christian Glamsetter. Now that he's completely dropped Evan Way. So it's just sort of turning into a 3-horse race at this point here. As we go into lap 13 of 30 then. So still 17 to go. And that's a long way for these tyres. So you've got to be careful on them. And that's exactly what Sebastian Graveland has not done. Because round he goes on the exit. Oh, and he's hit somebody else as well into turn 10. Seems turn 10 is the trouble corner, like Axia.
That's the one you want to get your fold out, Chair, and watch if you're watching it trackside. This is Matthew Gracie. So I think they've come together. Big slow exit there from Matthew Gracie. I'm not quite sure why, if it was like if he missed a gear or something like that coming out of the corner, or yeah, it has to be the case, isn't it? Because there's no way you would be that slow out of the corner, would you? No.
Oh, and there is Sebastian Graveland, where gravity seemed to take leave of him there as he hit the back of Gracie.
I wanted to see on board.
Yeah, Gracie did seem surprisingly slow, like he just didn't get the power on for whatever reason on exit here. And that was what caught him out. There was that sudden slowdown. He might have just gone outside of track limits there. But yeah, the consequences for Graveland, disastrous.
That'll be pit road for sure. It does a lot of damage. It's always interesting, isn't it? Because the speed difference off there. If he may be just trying to correct a little bit, could add a little bit of slide. The tyres were sliding a little bit. Just lost a lot of speed there. And at that point too, you just don't know, do you? Do you try to stay on the track, or do you just go off the track a little bit if you know? It's all. Remember, this all happening in a split second.
It's even harder when you're the car behind.
Yeah,
that has true. About less than half a second to react to what the car in front of you is doing, essentially. But we also see a comment from Doodly Doodler. in the live chat. He says, go, go. And I assume that's in reference to Mackenzie passing Pedro Suarez. He's urging him on to challenge Evan Way for that fourth position. As we look at Brent Ruiz, who just seems to be absolutely in command of this race up front. As much as Glamsetter is matching his times, he's got enough of a buffer at the moment that he can afford to lose a couple of tenths here and there and still be comfortably in command by the end of the race, of course. But as we see, Willems and Rabiard seem to have come together because they're both dropping down the order. Oh, and there we go. That's Rabiard just cutting across the gravel on the exit of turn 2 there and joining just in front of Angelo Veloz, who has to sort of lag out of the way to the inside there. Oh, and Evan Way has hit trouble too, dropping out of fourth position and rapidly dropping down the top 10 there. There he is. He's spun at the Verve chicane.
This is when we're talking about those tyre situations. We're about 17 to go, of course, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky for the drivers. You just see in and out right there, but he hits that
too far over the curb.
Hits that sleeping policeman.
Bump there, completely caught Evan Way out, didn't it?
That's what I'd say. Well, sure, if you look at it, it's going to lift the car up. That's what we mentioned, isn't it? Have a look.
Elevation change over the curb can be very, very nasty indeed. Hit on it. Yeah, it was just that sausage curb. He just clipped it. Evan almost missed it, but anyway, in the big cloud of smoke heralding his brother. And again, he has to go against the way of traffic, basically, to get some space to sort of rejoin the order. And he's re-emerged in 13th position as he once more clobbers the curbs. Now he's got to chase down Robert Ridgway, 2.5 seconds ahead of him as we look at Kevin Byland, who has hit yet more trouble as he dropped it into Verve as well. Oh, the rear's let go much earlier this time, and he just about gets it stopped in time before the car can turn itself into the inside wall there on the left-hand side. So good reactions from Kevin Byland there, but unfortunately, it's looking very bleak for him as I believe Thomas Thibaut Rabiard has gone into pit lane then after his excursion through the gravel as Joseph Lucas gets up the inside of Adam Talsma, and that's the American up to 16th position ahead of the Scuderia Racing Forces car.
And the only problem, of course, is that you've got to defend yourself later on to the main straight. So it's up to you to try to pull away as much as you possibly can. Otherwise, Adam here is going to, if you keep him just within reach, of course, out of the final corners, then may be able to attack. But this is obviously at the point right now where Joseph's just got to get the power down there and should be able to cover him off.
Let's not forget, Stu Milne is right in front of him on the road as well. So Joseph Lucas might have a new target in his sights then as he gets closer and closer to the top 15. Still plenty of action and drama left to have as we are at the halfway point here in round 2 of season 3 of the 2024 iGPFun championship here of these F3 cars in action and dueling away with each other. But up front, Brent Ruiz is still extending that gap 3.3 seconds over Christian Glamsetter, who's holding off Lee Aberdeen to the tune of 1.3 seconds. Then it's a whole 6.5 seconds to Mackenzie Roon, who is hold Pedro Suarez for 4th place there. So Mackenzie Roon, now he's regained where he was in the order. He's got the hold of Suarez, and don't forget Kevin Zemstra, the Dutchman, is lurking right behind Suarez as well in the Hydro race car.
I was wondering if our Dutch esports driver, because he's not here this evening, he might have other commitments as well too, being a Williams esports driver, if he would have been able to bring it, him and Brett Rudens would have had a pretty good, I think, nice little battle between them this evening, because at the moment Brett's still got that commanding 3-second gap lead, which we were talking about before, that it's quite good for him, because as soon as you get into that around that 3-second plus, right, or 4-second gap, you just slowly got that driver out of your picture, so the other driver can't see you anymore. And the other driver can't see you anymore. They can't study your mistakes and things like that you're doing. That's some of the good thing about running behind another driver, isn't it? You get an opportunity to study how they're fighting the corners.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to see what's
exactly.
Analyze your driving from a rear view wing mirror. That's why you often rely on spotters in a sort of situation like this, especially. But usually you only really need a spotter if there's crazy weather conditions and it's a lot more action-packed and easier to change positions, as it were. Or you're doing oval racing as another example, and you need to know if you're free wide, who's on either side of you and how to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. But yeah, it is of course. Shame that Marto is not here, but of course there is the drop score rule, which will definitely play into his hands if he's only able to do a select number of races, provided he doesn't miss too many, of course. Great opportunity here for old Brent Ruiz as we look at Byland in more trouble then as he goes round the set corner, and snap of oversteer, and into the gravel he goes as he bounces off the wall. And somehow both front and rear wings survive, but the suspension is looking very, very knackered.
And he's towed it, for sure. See, there was a lock-up, I think, from the car up the road. They're not sure. There's a snap, and at this point, he's just trying, fighting the car. Car's going left and right. It's bouncing off like a pinball machine, and unfortunately, that smashed the suspension, and then it'll send me to pit road. But that wasn't the only one, because there was an accident. A few accidents on that same lap. Just yet, this is a loss. And that's going to hit a hard hit. Bang. Oof. Almost got into the little runoff area, isn't it, where you take your car?
And Joseph Lucas, who was doing so well, completely dropping it at Bank Sabadell there, as we cut to Marcelo Kessler. The 228 trying to dive up the inside on his teammate and dropping it completely, just locking the fronts, wasn't he?
Yeah, we've said that quite a few times here this evening. Yeah, but on your teammate. Yeah, well, he didn't take his teammate out. Wasn't that the first rule of racing? Don't take your teammate out. Don't contact. I mean,
also, you don't want to make a silly dive in a teammate that doesn't work out when you could just easily pass them down the main straight into turn one, maybe. But that's a suggestion on my part. I mean, I'm a commentator, not a driver, so what would I know? But anyway, we look now at Kevin Zemstra, who his last lap time 1:35.9. He's matching what Suarez is doing in front of him. Suarez in turn is matching Mackenzie Roon. So stalemate in the mid 1:35s. Lee Aberdeen 1:36.0, matching Glamsetter in front of him. It's Brent Ruiz on the 1:35.7s. It is pulling away from the duo behind him then. So more Aberdeen and Glamsetter are worrying about each other, the more it plays into the hands of Brent Ruiz. The deeper we get into this race with just 12 laps to go now. So this is where tyre preservation becomes very, very key. It's so key to just stay out of trouble and profit while everyone else runs out of tyres at the end. So those who have kept their powder dry now might start to really reap the benefits.
And on top of it, my friend, we also get a little bit of lap traffic comes into play, because now they're starting to catch the pack. Brett is, at least. So
yeah,
that's also a big one, especially when you have these drivers fighting, as you know. They're fighting it. These other drivers also at the back of the pack, they're fighting their races. So they are going to show those blue. We talked about blue flag rules all the time. But it definitely becomes a key maker in late stages of the race, for sure.
So I believe Matthew Gracie is the first one to go a lap down. Joseph Lucas is next on the horizon for Brent Ruiz. He's about 1 minute 31.3 behind him in terms of on the road. So the lap traffic will come into play in the final couple of laps, as you say. Yeah, for Marcel Kessler is then next up the road, the man who we just saw spinning around next to his teammate. But yeah, Ruiz, you see the sun setting in front of him. He's just kept it very, very calm. Once he got on pole position, he never really looked trouble. 3.7 seconds the gap to Glamsetter, and the Norwegian has just had no answer so far in this race, a tenth slower the previous lap. And in fact, Lee Aberdeen went 2 tenths quicker, so he's starting to maybe take advantage of any tyre life he's got left. Then he knows it needs to get within a second to sort of benefit from that slipstream down the main straight. So Lee Aberdeen might be planning a late attack for second position then. Look at this, Adam Talsma is fighting away with Stu Milne. And Stu Milne has actually done a very, very solid race to stay roughly where he qualified in sort of, actually 13 positions better than where he qualified, as is Adam Talsma. So they must have qualified right next to each other, and they've both slowly made their way through the pack. But Stu Milne now starting to look a little bit more vulnerable, the Scotsman, to the Canadian hot on his tail. And Talsma is surely going to be setting up a move down the main straight, provided he can get close enough. So Stu Milne needs a good middle and final sector here to keep him at bay.
That's what he's going to be working on. As you can see, 13 positions gained from both the drivers. And Neil deGrasse would say, and I'd like to say, as the Earth is rotating away from the sun, the sun's setting, God. I always play too technical on that one. Look at that fastest lap too from our race leader. But and the other one as well too. This is another thing with that sun that's glaring in your eyes, just as peeking off like around certain places. If you're in a VR headset, some drivers do drive in VR. That apparently, I've been told by drivers, is a very, very hard thing because it strikes you with your helmet and all that sort of stuff. Not so bad, of course, when you're looking at it from a driver's perspective in the cockpit. Because remember, they're driving from this perspective with the halo most likely turned off. At least the middle part's transparent, that's all. But yes, my friend. Not easy.
Yeah,
and you can
exactly.
see the little slight reflections even on that, on your visor. See little marks
Yeah,
and
it's
things.
particularly bad just into the turn 3 as we see Kuzna also set a personal best lap of the race down in 19th position as he chases down Veloz. But yeah, Rees, that 135.566, the fastest lap of the race, puts him almost 4 seconds now ahead of Glamsetter. And he's just starting to stretch his legs as he gets more and more confident. The only thing that could potentially be a factor is the traffic, and let's hope that he doesn't get taken out by Backmark, because that would be very unfortunate indeed, as Rabiard is in yet another battle after more adventures in this race. This time it's with Tenebrae, who I think he's just dispensed of for 23rd position on his fight back. Next target, Patrick Williams, but he is another 14 seconds up the road, sadly, so plenty of work and not quite enough laps with only 10 remaining for Rabiard to make up ground here as we cut to Andy Flint. He's got a big gap to Clark Williams of 4.5 seconds, but it's Denny Cornu who's just got past him for 8. So Cornu having a quietly impressive run as he's now only a second or so behind Will McIntyre Jones, as Don Lee diving up the inside at turn 10 on Adam Talsma. So we thought Talsma was going to fight with Milne. In fact, it's now Lee that fancies a piece of Adam Talsma. The American's going to try and go all the way around the outside at Bank Sabadell then, but unfortunately not quite enough overlap to pull that one off. And now Don Lee is under attack from Angelo Veloz and Bojan Kuzna, who are not far behind him.
Yeah, the Brazilians coming creeping up slowly on that one. They had a little bit of a blink for a second, and that's not a problem, but because it's too far back for that to cause any issues. A few other little incidents, like Matthew Gracie has made a little bit of error. Risha, I think, as well, too.
And here comes Lee around the outside of Adam Talsma. It's going to be tight into turn 1. Does Talsma leave enough space from the inside? Yes, he does. So Don Lee, fantastically judged maneuver to get into 16th position. And now Angelo Veloz, he fancies to go up the inside immediately on Adam Talsma through turn 3 then. So he wants to join the party here. And Veloz up the inside into turn 4. So Adam Talsma will have to hang it out around the outside and hope he can maintain the inside for Sayat Corner. How late does he break? Oh, it's going to be late enough. He's reached the inside first, and he's done just enough to back Veloz now into Bojan Kuzna in that bright red car just behind.
Yeah, how quickly those battles, isn't it? Brings everybody into play. And there's the blink again, too. That's going to be a little bit unfortunate for the Brazilian. Well, for these drivers. Brazilian, he doesn't notice a blinking, remember, of course. That's how, when iRacing, it's just his connection there to the server is doing that. But this is a
Lee
great
Aberdeen,
fight.
by the way, has closed. He gained 4 tenths then on Glamsetter on the previous lap. He's only 7 tenths behind now. As look at this, Veloz now starting to have a go at Talsma on the exit of turn 10 into Bank Sabadell they go. So you need to be so careful on the power, especially at this late phase of the race. 8 laps remaining, then into the chicane where it all tightens up. But here comes Evan Way then, getting back into 12th position past Robert Ridgway, the Canadian, then regaining ground after a messy spin in the middle sector then that dropped him out of a 4th position. But look at this, Ridgway is going to try and hold on around the outside, but there's not really enough room there unless he can duck underneath through turn 3. Me of little faith. Robert Ridgway is going to try and retake the inside into turn 4. Repsol, and Evan Way just absolutely hangs it around the outside but goes way too deep. And there we go, Robert Ridgway is going to just about hold on to 12th position then as they go into turn 5.
That's exactly what happened in the Formula 1 race earlier today. So it's good to see one of the drivers mimic it. We did see some good. There was some good side-by-side battles like this. This is a track that you can almost go side-by-side through most of it, and avoid the sleeping policeman, as I like to call it. Yeah, like Brazil as well too. It's another one of my favourite tracks. Interlagos, where you can actually go side-by-side through most of it. It was just said, but I want to have a look at this one with Lee and Christian. One of Christian. I don't see anything in race control that says Christian went off track or anything like that, but.
Yeah, maybe Glamsetter's just taken too much life out of his tyres chasing Brent Rees. And now this is where Lee Aberdeen is hoping to punish any abuse of tyres. Here he comes. He's well in the slipstream. He's going to dive up the inside into turn 1 on the no-limit sim racing car. But unfortunately for him, Glamsetter has got his number. He's able to dive around the outside and hold on to the position for now and return to the racing line then. So Lee Aberdeen will have to regroup. Is he going to try and go up the inside into turn 4? Yes, he is. A late dive. Is he going to try and control the middle of the road here? Leaves just enough room for Christine Glamsetter, who will try and retake the inside for Sayat Corner. Dives deep as Glamsetter and is just about able to get the car turned in time, but does that compromise his exit? Lee Aberdeen going up the inside into third corner. This is between the two. Just enough space left, and Lee Aberdeen gets up to second position. Fantastic racing between the pair.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I was like, go Aussie, 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 go, go, go. And Lee is getting his job done, but Christian's gonna want this one back. It's a good fight between these two gladiators, my friend.
Yeah, and Glamsetter, he thinks Aussie, 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 no, no, no. He wants to get back in front, but unfortunately not able to really make any headway from the outside into turn 10 at Lacaxia. So through Bank Sabadell they go once more and into the Europe car chicane, the REC chicane, I should say, according to the official advertising hoarding there. But Christian Glamsetter, now the Hunter has become the Hunter Ed. Not the Ed Hunter, as people some often call me, but Christian Glamsetter now tucks into the slipstream. A long way back there, so Lee Aberdeen will use every trick in the book here to try and defend position, or as long as it's within the rules, of course. Glamsetter now gets just within touching distance, but has to back off in the braking zone then. So Glamsetter now realizing the position is lost for now, but is going to try and stick as close as he can to the back of Lee Aberdeen as he washes out wide through turn 3, as we see Andy Flynn has gotten back in front of Denny Cornu, and Evan Way has made another attempt to pass Robert Ridgway, and Cornu getting back past in front of Andy Flynn for 8th position.
Yeah, this is going for a 2 finale and exchanging Christmas cards early.
Indeed. Yeah, Evan Way this time doing a similar move to before, but this time he sort of he sort of controls the middle of the road a little bit better there to prevent any counter-attack from Robert Ridgway, of course. As we cut back to Clark Williams, still in the top 10, now fighting with Andy Flint, who unfortunately the SRF driver has sort of gone backwards in this race, hasn't he, Andy Flint? He's seen a Cornu fly by, and now it looks like Clark Williams very much fancies a piece, and Chris Trott isn't far behind either.
Yeah, I wonder if he made a mistake. I want to have a look at that one, because this is the yeah, there it is. That's the reason why Dennis got past there. He made a little bit of a mistake.
And that was just coming out of turn 10, which seems to be catching almost everyone out there. So there we go. That explains that mistake there, but a mistake for Clark Williams himself. A minor lockup at turn 10 there, as he just has to get on the brakes in a hurry there, and that will cost him just a tenth or two of a second, but no harm done. He should be able to get back in the slipstream down the main straight and make that ground back up. But Clark Williams, the longer he gets stuck behind Andy Flint, the better that is for Chris Trott, who's going to be gradually gaining all the time in the background. Glamsetter is still 4/10 then behind Lee Aberdeen, who we ride on board with. That is a lapped car, I believe, in front of us.
We've got traffic coming up. That's what I wanted to point out, because the leaders has got through all that gaggle of traffic there. You can see.
Yes, that must be the likes of Matthew Gracie, Thomas Peter, Rishi Taparia, I think, still in the race as well. So he's got to negotiate all of those drivers then, who are at least one lap down, potentially more if they've been into the pits multiple times. But yeah, this is good news for Glamsetter, who will try and opportunistically use one of them to hold up Lee Aberdeen and find a way back through into second place with 5 laps remaining.
I know there's a big battle happening at the moment. There's Fessy on Ridgway and Fessy. I just want to keep an eye on this for a second. And we got Williams and Trott. I'll go back and have a look at those replays.
Flint and Williams, isn't it? Yeah.
I just want to see how when they catch up to this lap traffic, my friend, in this notorious section here. It's not easy for anybody just to completely get out of the way, isn't it? So how much is that going to compromise Lee?
Oh, he's almost going to go on the gravel there. Does touch the gravel there on exit there through Bank Sabadell. And he's going to be really held up into the chicane. This is where it really tightens up. Who is that that's holding Lee Aberdeen up at this point? And he does just go wide here at the final corner, New Holland. And in fact, he will also give a little bit of a tow to Christian Glamsetter. So I don't think that could have worked out much better for the Norwegian if he tried there, because he's going to have a beautiful run at Lee Aberdeen into turn 1. There we go. Out of the throttle.
And they're going to catch this traffic at a horrible time as well. Oh, the driver's going to get out of the road. They realize they're coming at 2 for nail at 1,000,000 miles an hour. This is why I love lap traffic, my friend. It certainly brings an entertainment into this one. Brad had already got past all them.
And Marcelo Kessler, they were just negotiating there. So I think the two teammates just leaving just enough space for Aberdeen and Glamsetter. It looks like Brent Rees has extended his gear lead to 5.2 seconds as we look at Flint going side by side with, this must be Clark Williams then, is it?
Yes, sir.
Williams on the inside then, so something's gone very badly wrong for Williams, or about to go wrong in this replay, Andy Flint breaks late round the
Yep.
outside.
That's
Oh, and
Clark.
Clark Williams spins around. He's just avoided by Chris Trott in time there. So Chris Trott, cat-like reflexes coming into play there.
And that's just unfortunate. So here's Clark, and he's just like Clark's lost it, you know, just on the inside there.
He had to
So
go offline and over the sort of bump where there was a gradient change, and that just unbalanced the car there. And he got on the front a little bit too early. Around she went. So lots of places lost for Clark. He drops down to 14th position. As now Evan Way is getting involved because Chris Trott has hit trouble and lost a couple of positions.
Yep.
So Evan Way is back into the top 10, just 3.6 seconds behind Andy Flint there.
This is what's happened, unfortunately, to Chris.
Oh, it's the same corner. Worth for a lap later, he's dropped it himself.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, he's done almost exactly the same thing as well.
Last chance for Tony to perhaps get anything on the Canadian driver. With about 3 laps to go, he's going to give it everything he can for the Spaniard. He's got the local heroes cheering him on throughout the whole track, as we still see Christian trying dear life to reclaim that P2 position that he held for so much of the race, even though they have the top 4 have started in top 4 positions that they started the race in. So
Yeah, behind it's been anybody's game really, but yeah, the only big move was Aberdeen passing Glamsetter, wasn't it, in the top 4 essentially. But Mackenzie Roon has regained that 4th position after collision with Jimenez, as Tony Jimenez seemed to get by far the worst of it, having to pit for repairs, and now fight his way back up the order. But Talsma shouldn't be able to put up too much of a fight. Jimenez just looks so much quicker in a straight line, and sure, this is going to be a very, very straightforward move into turn 1. Is Talsma going to try to hang it out around the outside? Oh, breaks a little bit late, but that was a little bit half-hearted there. And Tony Jimenez fairly comfortably, confidently slotting his way through back into 17th position. 3.9 seconds to Don Lee in front of him, so 3 laps left. He might be able to catch a lead, but I think a top 15 might be beyond his reach for the local driver. So if the home fans have been cheering, it hasn't given poor Tony Jimenez much luck then, because he's a long way off where he started in this race. As Aberdeen now has pulled a 9/10 gap actually on a Christian Glamsetter, as they seem to have just lapped Joseph Lucas in the background there.
yeah, he probably got a good run on navigating that traffic through. That was the only thing that I was a little curious when I saw that gaggle of cars, which is I wanted to point the cameras over there, because I thought something may build up pretty easy. Because I know that Brett, our race leader, he navigated past all those cars, and these drivers had to then start navigating that gaggle
Yeah,
of traffic.
and Brent Rees seems to have lost a bit of time, hasn't he? Last at 36.6, a second slower than Lee Aberdeen. And Brent Rees might have had to negotiate a little bit of traffic as well himself, past Zoltan Zometer. Another alliterative name in this field, gotta love it. Robert Ridgway, Zoltan Zometer. Brent Rees then, 3.8 seconds in the lead, and looking a little bit less comfortable now in this late phase. Perhaps the tyres starting to get away from him just that little bit then, so maybe a bit of management needed just to hold on to this one at the end. The Aberdeen is not quite out of this one yet, but 3.8 seconds, I think Brent Rees, as long as he doesn't panic here, he's got this one under control, because Aberdeen has got more problems to deal with in the form of Glamsetter, who's within touching distance of him at the moment, just 1 second behind.
And here we go. So they're going to approach the traffic here, which is a
Zometer,
difficult
isn't it?
place. Yeah, completely gets out of the way.
Oh.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Good awareness, you'd have to say, for the back marker. Your Formula 1 drivers don't do that on the hot laps during qualifying or free practices, do they?
And the problem is that lost Zometer a position as well, because Joseph Lucas passed him for 26th, and that was actually for position as a result of that. So Zometer sacrificing the top 26 position to let the leaders through cleanly there at a very difficult part of the track then. So very, very selfless from Zoltan Zometer.
Yeah, but at that part, you're so far back in the fact that you're not going to gain any points and stuff like that, losing any points anyway.
Yeah,
but,
I guess it's the same amount of points between 26th and 27th, i.e. 0.
And on top of it, you're not going to get penalised, are you, from the race stewards and stuff like that later on when they review it for saying, hey, you held this driver up there, or you could have caused this.
He might be rewarded karmically, you never know.
Yeah.
But there's Marcelo Kessler, having been lapped, holding off his teammate Maximilian Gebhardt as they try to basically finding each other for 28th position then, which is not what those two would really have been wanting when they started this race, with a couple of errors sort of creeping in. But now we're on lap 29 of 30, so we are close to starting the final lap of the race, as Brent Rees has got Patrick Williams to lap, so he's going to lap everyone down to 24th position by the end of this one, I think. Patrick Williams, really the next one, and anyone who's going to catch before the end, I think. And there we go, Williams out of the way.
Yeah. I think Williams going to do it. There's Lee further back. So you'll see, yeah, look at that. Look, but you'll see Williams up the road. And you said, Brett, I definitely probably would say that Brett might have just got caught traffic in a semi-dangerous place there and just didn't want to risk it for the biscuit. He probably just completely backed off there, lost a little bit of time. That's the good thing about having a little bit of time up your sleeve, isn't it? You can afford.
Exactly, but
afford
I liked how you got less confidence that sentence wore on. Definitely, probably, but maybe, not sure.
Look at that, Lee just sets a
And look, Lee Aberdeen, fastest lap of the race. 1:35.4 then he's just set as he desperately tries to chase down Brent Rees. Gets a little bit of slipstream, of course, from Patrick Williams, as I think he's lapped him as well, or just about to lap him anyway. The gap 2.9 seconds as they start the final lap of the race, but Brent Rees take nothing away from the American. He is been pretty flawless across this one. Maybe tiny mistakes on traction, but even then he's saved it, kept it in control. This Chris Trott has made another error as he fights with Clark Williams for 13th position on this final lap.
Looks like Clark's actually had the worst end of this one, maybe.
Oh yeah, he's gone in the pits. No wonder. So Clark Williams just ahead of Chris Trott, and Clark goes a little bit wide, over the sausage curb. Oh, no wonder there. He completely cut the track there and had to let Chris through there.
Oh, another accident we'll show. Probably the last one we'll have to show. This is pretty big, but this is back in 20th.
As Brent Rees is coming through the final sector now, surely to win this one. Clark Williams serves that drive-through penalty for cutting track limits there. 2.7 seconds the gap between Brent Rees and Lee Aberdeen, but Rees is powering through confidently to his first win of the season. Well, he did very, very well last season, was in that title hunt in the top 5 or 6 in the closing couple of races, but now he gets his season off to a much better start than he did at Montreal. It's victory in round 2 at Barcelona for Brent Rees. The Spanish Grand Prix goes the way of the American, with Lee Aberdeen in second. Christian Glamsetter holds on to third, falls just short of Lee Aberdeen in the end. Mackenzie Roon is going to recover back up to 4th position. So it's for American fans watching, it's good news for you because you're just watching a 1-4 for the national heroes, I guess. Pedro Suarez is 5th ahead of Kevin Zemstra and Will McIntyre-Jones, who we didn't talk much about, but he kept it very clean and consistent actually in the 36s, didn't he? To beat Denny Cornu, who was 1 second shy in the end. After a slightly messy start, he recovered well. Andy Flint finishes 9th, with Evan Way rounding out the top 10 from Robert Ridgway.
Certainly, yeah, and quite exciting, I have to say, all the way around. Battles everywhere. Not so much, obviously, for P1 and P2, but there's the rest of the battles for P3, P2, P3, and so forth. Pretty good there. Pedro there, 40 his way up. 4 positions going too, remember, too, for the Portuguese driver to get up there. Biggest one gainer in the top 12 was Simon Fessy, and he also had a little moment as well, too, I think, in a replay of that one. So that's not bad for the French driver to gain 14 places and up finishing P12 after that mistake as well, too. That happened.
Yeah, the biggest gainer is probably Costas Tenebrail, but unfortunately he gained 16th position, only finished 22nd, and he was the second last finisher as well. But that shows at that level, getting that experience can really come in handy then. So I don't think we're doing any interviews, so hopefully we can do the results and finish the broadcast fairly quickly, because I've been given the hurry up to basically everyone else wants to go to bed and wants me to stop talking. So
yeah, I can understand that.
But anyway,
I'm just waiting for those results to come up so we can pull them up, which they're coming up exactly about now, my friend.
Right, so confirmation then of the final order here. Round 2 of Season 3 at Circuit de Barcelona and the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League. Brent Rees wins by 2.5 seconds over Lee Aberdeen. So the gap was cut into, but Aberdeen, he left his charge just a little bit late there. Christian Glamsetter made a great start to hold on to get into second position, but unfortunately might have asked a little bit too much of his tyres, so he does still finish 3rd for No Limit Sim Racing. Then Mackenzie Roon finishes 4th for Get Good Racing, ahead of Pedro Suarez for Hydra Race. Then Kevin Zemstra for Alcantech ANHR by Nyman Racing finishes top 6 ahead of Will McIntyre-Jones for Digital Apex. Denny Cornu had a good recovery drive for Unity Racing. Him and Mackenzie Roon were the big regainers in this race, I would say. Andy Flint was 9th, and Evan Way He was holding 4th early on, but a mistake dropped him down the pack to 13th, and he recovered back to the top 10 in the end. Robert Ridgway was 11th. Then it was Simon Fessy, the big gainer, 14 positions gained to beat Chris Trott in the end. As Stu Milne also gaining 14 positions, where he started to finish 14th, funnily enough, ahead of Don Lee. And then in 16th was Tony Jimenez, another case of what could have been after his early collision with Mackenzie Roon. Adam Talsma is 17th, Angelo Veloz 18th, Eugen Kuznar 19th, Thibault Rabiart 20th, Zerde Blanco 21st, Costas Tenebrail 22nd, and our final finisher, Daryl Govender from South Africa, of course. Then the non-finishers, Clark Williams retiring right at the end, or falling a lap down right at the end with the trip through the pits due to that late chicane cut. I think he was he forgot what year it was and thought he was driving the new layout maybe, or the new old layout at Barcelona, and skipped the final chicane entirely. Patrick Williams was 25th ahead of Joseph Lucas. Zoltan Zomator was 27th ahead of Marcelo Kessler. Maximilian Gebhardt was 29th ahead of Matthew Gracie. And it was Thomas Peter 31st, 9 laps down. And I believe then we're getting into non-finisher territory with Kevin Byland, Alvaro Moreno, Gaten Imhoff, Jack Williams, and Sebastian Gravland, who of course had that fly through the air. Ben Goyet, Ludovic Rancion, Dorian Arroyo, who didn't start, and then Kuji Ito and Constantine Legrasse also failing to start the race. So 39 classified drivers then at the end of this one.
Yeah, what a race! Of course, same time, same place, same network next week, and hopefully we'll be at the 2K subscriber mark as well too. So make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Please do support the fantastic racing network. Support the racing leagues as well, and everything like that we like to broadcast. So thank you very much, Mr. Ed. Would you like to wrap it up, and then we'll all head for a lay down?
So next week, June 30th, we will be at the Red Bull Ring for more of the same action. I won't be there. I'll be commentating on real-life go-karting somewhere in the UK, in Lincolnshire, so that's going to be good fun. But I'll look forward to watching it afterwards if I do get the chance. But thank you very much for accompanying me, Dean, and thank you very much to you, of course, for watching round 2 here at Barcelona. Congrats once more to Brent Rees on a fantastic victory. But everyone in the, I think everyone who finished the race did pretty well to stay out of trouble, because there was a lot of accidents and incidents then. So more ice racing action next week. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.